My name is Bobby Schindler, brother of Terri Schiavo. She was very close to her family. She had a great sense of humor. When she grew up, she wanted to be a veterinarian. She wanted to work at a zoo. As we got older, Terri and I became closer and closer. Didn't really foresee or expect, what was going to happen to our family. Terri was married in 1984 to Michael Schiavo. February 25th, 1990, I received a call in the middle of the night saying that something happened to your sister. She fainted or collapsed. Can you get over there and see what happened? I remember Michael answered the door. He was frantic. He led me over to my sister, who was laying in the hallway, her face down in the carpeting. The paramedics came, and I remember them using the paddles several times to try and get Terri's heart started, and it was then that I knew something was seriously wrong. When she did collapse that night, she went several minutes without oxygen, which caused her to experience this severe brain injury. It was really within the first couple weeks, maybe a month, where Terri no longer needed any machines to keep her alive. She emerged from her coma. She was awake at times. Because of her brain injury, she had difficulty swallowing, so she did need a feeding tube at that time. And that was the only thing that she needed in order to sustain her life. We were encouraged because she did emerge from the coma. There were signs of hope. The one thing a person with that type of brain injury needs is therapy and rehabilitation to try and stimulate the brain, improve the brain. We found a rehab doctor that came in and evaluated her and felt that she was a good candidate for rehabilitation and therapy. We're getting reports back from the therapist that Terri is starting to improve. It's very, very slow progress, but she's starting to now speak and form words from the rehabilitation and therapy. All of our energy and focus was on doing whatever we could to improve Terri's, her condition. And Michael was with our family at the time. During this process, he was appointed Terri's guardian. She had no living will, she had no advance directive, and we didn't foresee any problem with Michael. But unfortunately, Terri had acquired a UT infection, a urinary tract infection, which was easily treated with antibiotics. Michael told the nursing home not to give her antibiotics. Terri would have died a slow death by poisoning of her bloodstream, which sepsis is called, and she would have died. There was a law that said that the nursing home had to continue treatment. They could not stop treating it, so they continued and they gave Terri antibiotics. So now our family was confronted with someone who was not only not caring for his wife, but now it seemed to me has taken on this position that he was going to try to end her life. So he went out and he found himself an attorney, and the attorney wrote us a letter informing us that he was going to petition the court to remove Terri's food and hydration. How could it be possible that you can ask permission to starve and dehydrate someone to death? During the trial, we found out things that we didn't know. And we were always wondering what was motivating Michael to do this. Because Michael was the guardian, once Terri died, he would inherit whatever was left in the medical trust fund, which at the time was close to $1 million. We told the judge we were perfectly willing to care for Terri. She's a live human being. To starve and dehydrate to her death would be senseless and barbaric and inhumane. Week-long trial, the judge came back after hearing all the evidence and agreed with Michael and said, he is going to permit Michael to remove her food and hydration. It was March 18th, 2005, when Terri's feeding tube was removed. The way Terri was portrayed in the media, the way Terri was being portrayed by her husband and her attorney, that she was suffering, that she had no quality of life, that what they were doing was the right thing to do, that was in Terri's best interest to just let her die when she wasn't dying. Terri was not in a coma, she was not brain dead, she was fully alive. It became an end-of-life issue once her feeding tube was taken away from her. This is what our family, again, was faced with, walking into a room and being powerless to stop this from happening, this inhumanity, this insanity, because they had a disability, because they had experienced a brain injury, because they had difficulty swallowing. For that reason, we are now going to decide whether that person should live or die. There was police everywhere, and we could not get in to see my sister unless there was at least 2 armed police in the room with us, for the fear that we were going to try and administer some type of help to my sister, that being maybe water or whatever it might be. The armed police told my parents if they even tried to apply lip gloss, because Terri's lips began to dry and crack because of dehydration, they would arrest them immediately. There was no cameras allowed into the room for obvious reasons. I mean, they would claim it was a privacy issue. But the reason they wanted cameras in there, because they didn't want anybody seeing, the general public, what was happening. I mean, if you go and you look up pictures of concentration camps back in those in Auschwitz, back during World War II, and saw pictures, that's the only way I can describe at least what Terri was looking like physically. It was very difficult for even myself to go in and visit my sister, and I don't know why and what was giving me the strength to go in there. Maybe the fact that I knew that she needed a family member to be in there. It's hard. Remembering back, and seeing her that way. Terri went almost 2 weeks before she died. She went 13 and a half days, I believe, without food and water before she finally died. And again, from my experience and what I saw, it was, my sister was suffering terribly during, particularly those last week to 10 days. People need to understand that what happened to Terri is happening every single day in our nation. Our healthcare system is set up today where, depending what state you live in, you can deny or withhold feeding tubes for individuals. It's legal in all 50 states to treat feeding tubes as medical treatment. They were once considered ordinary and basic care, where now they've been reclassified as medical treatment, extraordinary care, artificial life support. Well, in response to my sister's death in 2005, our family really got together and we decided that this was something we wanted to continue to do, meaning we wanted to continue to advocate for people like my sister, because we saw during our battle to try and protect Terri, there was a huge need to try and do what we could to protect people with brain injuries and really anybody out there that was in a medically vulnerable situation. And we've been doing it for 12 years now. We've been getting calls, what seems like on a regular basis, from families that are in positions of having to defend their medically vulnerable loved ones from situations similar to Terri's. We looked at numbers recently and we've been helping well over 2,500 families that have called us for some type of support and help. So the name of our organization is the Terri Schiavo Life and Hope Network. We named it in honor of my sister. She had once said, "Where there's life, there's hope." She was fully alive. She needed others to care for her, but she was a beautiful human being.